Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio, so today I am going to be showing you one of the most exciting new cards from the upcoming Crimson Invasion set. I say upcoming, it's not upcoming, ladies and gentlemen, it's out. By the time you listen to this, Crimson Invasion has been officially released. We are talking about Nihilego. An awful lot of people are talking about Nihilego like it's not a particularly good card. Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I disagree entirely. And we're going to talk about some of the fun things that you can do with Nihilego GX. Now, there's plenty to not like about Nihilego GX. I'm not going to tell you it's the best Pokemon card ever. There are many bad things about it. The weakness to Psychic is rubbish, with Garbodor ruling the format at the moment. Free energy to do 120 and stop your opponent retreating on a Psychic Pokemon where it's really hard to accelerate energy, that ain't good. And although the GX attack initially looks good, take the top two cards of your opponent's deck and add them to their prize cards, really? For free Psychic energy, who's playing this? No. None of this is good, but the ability on Nihilego is spectacular. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may leave both active Pokemon confused and poisoned. Automatic confusion, automatic poison. It's not been that long, ladies and gentlemen, since we had Hypnotoxic Laser. Now, I know Hypnotoxic Laser was an item and not a two-prize Pokemon that sat on your bench, but regardless, Hypnotoxic Laser was automatic poison and a 50% chance of sleep. But of course, then you would flip for sleep at the end of your turn. So really, it was a 25% chance of sleep. And everybody loved that because it was automatic and you could drop it when you want. This is like a better searchable Hypnotoxic Laser. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is really good. Although you could argue sleep is better than confusion. It depends really on the situation in the game. But either way, this is really good. But of course, we only like the ability. So we are going to need some partners for Nihilego. And the great news for you guys is that I have found a whole bunch of partners that we can use. Couple quick things before we get going. Chaos Tower works perfectly with Nihilego. Now there's two sides. One cannot be paralyzed or asleep. The other side cannot be confused or poisoned. So this fits perfectly with Nihilego. Play a Chaos Tower. Put it down so your side cannot be confused or poisoned. And then Nihilego does absolutely nothing to you, and everything is lovely. The other thing you should know about Nihilego is there's a brilliant combo with Rainbow Energy and Acerola. So you can play a Rainbow Energy onto Nihilego to damage it, and then immediately pick it up with Acerola so you can use it again and again. Because of course Acerola needs a damaged Pokemon in order to use. You can use it with Super Scoop Up, but that is of course a flippy card. So these partners I keep talking about, how about we start with Alolan Muk GX. Now, Alolan Muk GX has got a brilliant Zero Energy GX attack that pulls your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active and then leaves them burned, paralyzed, and poisoned. That's pretty good, but we're not actually looking at that right now. We are looking at the first attack, Chemical Breath. 1 dark, 2 colourless energy, so you can use double colourless energy here. 10 damage, but it does 70 more for each special condition affecting your opponent's active Pokemon. Well, you drop a Nihilego and they're instantly affected by 2 special conditions. That, ladies and gentlemen, is brilliant. Now you're doing 150 damage for free energy, 180 with a choice band, and I tell you what, 180 for free energy is pretty gosh darn good. Now, the problem with Alolan Muk is that how many Nihilego do you really want to be dropping on your bench during a game? But then again, you could just play stuff like Super Scoop Up and Acerola and just keep reusing them. It could be fun. Either way, Alolan Muk has some potential. We've never had a card that brings out that potential like Nihilego. Now, as a quick side note here, RATICATE Break does work with Nihilego, but we talked about that a couple of days ago. I'll pop a link to that one in the description, but if you want to know about that, go check out that video. It's got its own one. How about TSAREENA-GX? Now, this is a card we do not talk about on this channel very often at all, and the reason, very simply, is it's not really that good. It's a very awkward Pokemon. Now, the attack we're really looking at here is Jumping Sidekick. 90 damage for a grass and a double colourless energy, so again, you can play double colourless. It's not particularly good, and unlike Alolan Muck, which is a stage 1, Tsareena is a stage 2. We don't like this at all. However, if your opponent's active Pokemon is confused, now you're doing 180, and 180 is great. 180 will just flat out KO something like a Drampa or a Darkrai, but with a Choice Band putting it up to 210, you're taking out Espeon, you're taking out Golisopod, you're taking out Turtonator. This is really, really good. It gives you a very good attack. Now, to be fair, you're still talking 2 energy attachments, a grass and a double colourless, and you're still talking a stage 2 Pokemon. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that this is some perfect, amazing, broken deck. If it was, it would be getting its own video, not a fun things to do with Nihilego video. However, this might be worth testing. 180 flat out is a good amount of damage. Ho-Oh GX has shown us that. Now, Ho-Oh GX is a basic that can be brought up to speed with Kiawe, but even so, this is pretty nice. Just a little bit expensive being a stage 2. Now, I also adore the GX attack here. For a grass colourless, and regular listeners will know, I am annoyed at GX attacks, just generally, if they need extra energy. Because here, if I put a grass double colourless on to use Jumping Sidekick, I then don't have the energy for Queen's Command GX. That annoys me. But you get to force your opponent to discard 4 cards from their hand. Like Delinquent, but you don't need a stadium in play, and they discard an extra card. This is nice. When you're getting 1-hit KOs with Tsareena, and then making them discard 4 cards from their hand, this is pretty nice. Not to mention the fact, of course, that we've also got the Sun and Moon Tsareena, which has a really good ability, allowing you, when you evolve, to have your opponent reveal their hand and discard a card from it. And if you're playing TSAREENA-GX, you might as well play Tsareena. And then maybe even a Devolution Spray or 2 to reuse this. Heck, you could even evolve up into a Tsareena, use Queenly Majesty to get a card out of their hand, and then, Devolution Spray, and next turn, evolve up into a GX. That could be fun, ladies and gentlemen. That could be fun. Want another thing you can do? How about MACHAMP-EX, another Pokemon that we just don't talk about on this channel very much, because it's not great. Now, this is not a stage 2, it's an EX, so it's a basic Pokemon. Fighting, colourless, 80 damage. No, way too expensive. If this Pokemon is affected by a special condition, this attack does 80 more damage. Then remove all special conditions. Now, you have got to have, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of self-confidence to be playing this. Because here's the thing. You do 80 more damage, then remove special conditions. So you drop a Nihilego. Machamp is then doing 160 for free energy, 190 with a Choice Band, which will get those big basic GXs like Turtonator, for instance. But you've got to have Confusion or Poison or something, but Nihilego, which we're specifically looking at, gives Confusion and Poison. Now, this is a bit of an issue because you're confused. So you've only actually got a 50% chance of doing 160. You've also got a 50% chance of doing nothing but 30 damage to yourself. Because Confusion, if you try and attack, you flip a coin. If head, the attack goes through. If tails, then you do 30 damage to yourself. And the attack fails. So I really cannot recommend MACHAMP-EX with Nihilego. Having said that, we're looking at fun things to do with Nihilego. Nihilego gives special conditions to both active Pokemon. Machamp thrives when affected by a special condition. If he was just poisoned, it would be cool because you heal before you take poison damage. The Confusion really hurts here. But if you want an actual, genuine, will be played, potentially amazing use for this, DARKRAI-GX. This isn't a kind of it's not going to see any play or it's a niche deck or it's worth a test. This is legitimately great. Dead End GX. 2 dark and a colourless energy. If your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, they're instantly knocked out. Now, I know you can use stuff like Salazzle here, which is a stage 1, and I know you can use stuff like Hypnotoxic Laser in Expanded, but Nihilego is searchable with something like an Ultra Ball, and immediately puts a special condition so that DARKRAI-GX gets a one-hit KO. At the moment, Nihilego is the best way to get a one-hit KO on your opponent's Pokemon using DARKRAI-GX. It's the best way to get the special conditions on there. I saved the best till last because this is an actual legitimate use for Nihilego. The rest of them are fun and might see a bit of play and are worth a test, and, you know, playing online or with your mates at League, yeah, go for it. But with DARKRAI-GX, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a legit strategy. But as always, I want to know if you've got any more ideas. Tell me what you think about the ideas I've given you. Tell me if you've got any more ideas for Nihilego GX. Let me know in the comments. Go nuts. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.